During the last 2,000 years before the birth of Christ, another great change took place in these islands. By this time, the use of metals had already become widespread. This period was known as the Metal Age. The earliest metals to appear were gold, copper, and bronze in the form of ornamental beads and tools. There were very few of these, especially the bronze. Because of this, the introduction of metal into the Philippines and the resulting changes did not follow the typical pattern. According to Robert Fox, there is, for example, no real evidence of a Bronze Age or Copper-Bronze Age in the archipelago, a development which occurred in many areas of the world. The transition, as shown by recent excavation, was from stone tools to iron tools. This lack has led most anthropologists to conclude that bronze items were imported and that those bronze smelting sites which have been found in Palawan were for re-smelting and remolding. Iron Age finds in the Philippines also point to the existence of trade between Tamil Nadu and the Philippine Islands during the 9th and 10th centuries BC. When iron was introduced to the Philippines, it became the preferred material for tools and largely ended the use of stone tools. Whether the iron was imported or mined locally is still debated by scholars. The earliest date for the presence of iron in the Philippines came from the Chamber B of Manonggol Cave in Lipuon Point in Palawan. This second chamber of the cave that produced the famous Manonggol jar was likewise used as a jar burial area. One of the most effective uses of iron is through iron blades, which were used in the clearing of forests for the cultivation of food plants. This enhances larger cropping and a subsequently larger harvest. The increase in food supply makes it easier to support a large population. Thus, there was a drastic change in the ratio between man and land area. There were more men per unit area than the earlier period. The ancient Filipinos also settled beside bodies of water, and fishing and the cultivation of the soil became the predominant means of livelihood. Taro, yams, and millet were the staple food of the islanders. Rice was highly valued and perhaps considered the most esteemed cereal, but it was not a daily staple. Rice production was insufficient and did not allow year-round consumption. Even datos with many slaves ate root crops in certain seasons. The early Filipinos had a culture that was basically Malayan in structure and form. They had languages that traced their origin to the Austronesian language family. They had their own religion and religious beliefs. They believed in the afterlife, and their rituals were based on beliefs in a ranking deity whom they called Batalang May Kapal, and a host of other deities. The early Filipinos adored the sun, the moon, the animals, and birds, for they seemed to consider the objects of nature as something to be respected. Laws were either customary or written. Customary laws were handed down orally from generation to generation and formed most of the laws of the barangay. They were preserved in songs and chants and in the memory of the elder persons in the community. The written laws were those that the chieftain and his elders promulgated from time to time as a necessity arose. The oldest known written body of laws was the Managtas Code by Dato Sumakwel at about 1250 AD. Other old codes are the Muslim Code of Luwaran and the Principal Code of Sulu. The laws dealt with various subjects such as inheritance, divorce, loans, partnership, crime and punishment, property rights, family relations, and adoption. Whenever disputes arose, these were decided peacefully through a court composed by the chieftain as judge and the barangay elders as jury. Conflicts arising between subjects of different barangays were resolved by arbitration, in which a board composed of elders from neutral barangays acted as arbiters. Baranganic society had a distinguishing feature, which is the absence of private property in land. Each individual participated in the community ownership of the soil and the instruments of production as a member of the barangay. This ancient communalism was practiced in accordance with the concept of mutual sharing of resources so that no individual, regardless of status, was without sustenance. Ownership of land was non-existent or unimportant. Marine resources and fishing grounds were likewise free to all. Recognized leaders such as the chieftains and elders enjoyed some economic privileges and benefits, but their rights were subject to their responsibility to protect the communities from danger and to provide them with the leadership and means of survival. The increase in contact and trade with areas outside of the Philippine Islands is shown not only by the artifacts dating to this period that could have only come from other places, but it is also suggested by the ability of local people to reach outlying areas through the use of sea crafts. Prehistoric boats were recovered in Butuan, Agusan del Norte in 1978. The Butuan boat is an edged-pegged plank type of boat. The planks were made from hardwood and was built to withstand long-distance voyages. The boat can seat 25 people and was later on called as Balangay. Early merchants purchased goods from foreign traders and sailed the small waterways to distribute the commodities to remote communities in the archipelago. The presence of glass beads and metals in the sites where the boats were discovered shows that Philippine coastal communities were active in Asian maritime trade during that time. Evidence of a flourishing maritime trade placed the early Filipinos' seamanship and boat-building skill on equal footing with other Asian countries. Present-day boat makers of Sibutu Island and in southern Philippines still use the same technology. Currently, there are 9 existing prehistoric boats. This period of prehistory is known not only for the appearance of metals, but also as the Golden Age of Philippine pottery. While the pieces produced in the previous age were indeed beautiful, pottery from the Metal Age is characterized by exquisite and intricate patterns and designs reflecting complex societies. Among the highlights of the Metal Age pottery are burial jars, which indicate the burial custom practiced by the ancient people of the period. Apart from Palawan, where these kinds of pottery were dug up, one of the earliest archaeological sites that yielded the pottery marker of this period is the Kalanay site in the island of Masbate. Earthenware pots resembling human figures were found in Ayob Cave, Sarangani Province. Each of the 29 jars recovered from the site is unique. The head-shaped covers portray different kinds of facial expressions such as sadness, joy, and contentment. The heads were either plain, perforated, or coated with red and black paints. Some have earrings, others are tattooed. Some head-shaped covers depict teeth, while others have arms, female breasts, and male genitalia. The jar burial practices of early Filipinos were prevalent not only in the Philippines but also in Southeast Asia. These practices date back to the late Neolithic period from 1000 BC to the 16th century before the arrival of the Spaniards. A new change took place in the Philippines about 1000 AD, which we will discuss in the next video about Ceramic Age. If you wish to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and make sure to turn on all notifications so that you never miss an upload. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with your friends who you think might be interested in history. Thanks for watching! Bye!